After Jacob deceived his father and stole Esau's blessing, his brother Esau was filled with rage and vowed to kill him. Rebekah heard about Esau's plan and urged Jacob to flee to her brother Laban's house in Haran, far away from Esau's anger. So Jacob left his home and family, beginning a long journey alone into the unknown. Jacob traveled from Beersheba toward Haran, walking through the wilderness with only the clothes on his back and a staff in his hand. As the sun began to set, Jacob found himself in a desolate place far from any town or settlement. Tired and alone, he looked for a place to spend the night. Jacob found a suitable spot and took one of the stones from that place to use as a pillow. It was a hard pillow for a hard night, as Jacob lay down under the open sky with his uncertain future weighing heavily on his heart. He was running from his brother's anger, leaving behind everything he knew, unsure of what lay ahead. As Jacob slept in that lonely place, he had an extraordinary dream. In his dream, he saw a stairway resting on the earth with its top reaching to heaven. Angels of God were ascending and descending on this magnificent ladder, moving between heaven and earth. It was a vision of the connection between the divine and the earthly realm. Then at the top of the stairway, Jacob saw the Lord standing above it. God spoke directly to Jacob, introducing himself as the God of Abraham and Isaac. Despite Jacob's deception and wrongdoing, God was revealing himself to this flawed man with a message of grace and promise. The Lord said to Jacob, "I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring." God was confirming to Jacob the same covenant promises he had made to Abraham and Isaac. Despite Jacob's methods of obtaining the blessing through deception, God's purposes would still be fulfilled. The promises were not based on Jacob's worthiness, but on God's faithfulness. Then God gave Jacob a personal promise that must have brought great comfort to his troubled heart. The Lord said, "I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you." Jacob was alone in the wilderness, fleeing from danger, uncertain about his future, but God promised to be with him, to protect him, and to bring him home again. No matter where Jacob would go or what he would face, God would not abandon him. When Jacob woke from his sleep, he was filled with awe and fear. He said, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it." Jacob had thought he was completely alone in that desolate wilderness, but he had been in God's presence all along. He exclaimed, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven." Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone he had used as a pillow and set it up as a pillar. He poured oil on top of it as an act of consecration and worship. This stone would serve as a memorial of his encounter with God, a reminder of the promises God had made to him in that place. Jacob named that place Bethel, which means house of God. Before this encounter, the place had been called Luz, but now it would forever be remembered as the place where Jacob met God and received his promises. Then Jacob made a vow to God. He said, "If God will be with me and will watch over me on this journey I am taking, and will give me food to eat and clothes to wear, so that I return safely to my father's household, then the Lord will be my God, and this stone that I have set up as a pillar will be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will give you a tenth." Jacob's vow showed both his faith and his humanity. He was promising to serve God faithfully if God would fulfill his promises. Though God's promises were unconditional, Jacob was responding with a commitment to honor God with his life and his possessions. With renewed hope and courage, Jacob continued his journey toward Haran. He was no longer just a fugitive running from his brother's anger. He was now a man who had encountered the living God and received divine promises. The stone pillow in a lonely place had become the gate of heaven, and Jacob's life would never be the same. This story teaches us that God meets us in our lowest moments and loneliest places. Even when we're running from the consequences of our mistakes, God's grace pursues us. The ladder Jacob saw represents God's desire to connect with humanity, bridging the gap between heaven and earth. Ultimately, Jesus Christ would become the true ladder, the way for all people to come into God's presence.